thing is interesting to me. But yeah, Britney has been free for a while, and that was LA. So I'm confused. So
that was an interesting one where a young lady drove off in a Brinks truck with, I think, $10 million. And she ended up somewhere in Europe with a fake passport for 10 years. And I think they negotiated her return to the United States. But they charged her, way before she left. And those charges stay open. It's not like they close the case because they can't get you back. So there is no real time limit on that. They'll wait it out as long as it takes. Maurice knows, I know. I've had cases that are 20 years old, Fed cases that are 20 years old. Guy disappears to wherever. And sooner or later, for some reason, that individual gets an itch to travel to France or travel someplace else. And then they get caught at the border and they get sent back. And of course, they attempt to try the case. And sometimes they're successful. So right now, we don't know of anybody else that's being charged. That may change depending on what happens with this verdict. Or
wait, is there an idea that KK has fled the country? Is that the question here?
Yo, this sounds crazy.
Thinking, where is KK? We're not seeing her post on social media. We hear she has a lawyer. They did seize her phone. They did not mention during court, oh, this person's a fugitive.
Wait, so what's going on now? This is crazy. Wait, KK might be in trouble now? Yeah, man. I think this gonna be kind of crazy, man. From the looks of it, man, it sounds like Diddy might get convicted, man. And that's sad. It's gonna be crazy. It is gonna be crazy. Diddy get found guilty? But I'm wondering this, is there more to come from this? Because I don't think Diddy's going down alone. He will not go down alone, man. I don't feel like he's not the type of guy who'd be like, I'll take this one to the chin and, pause on that. But I don't know, man. If he looks at 5 years, it might be like, all right, 5 years, okay. Anything above 5 years or 15, 20, it's gonna be hell to pay from. We'll have to see, man. We'll have to see how that go. We'll definitely have to see how that go, man. Okay, let's listen more. Let's listen more to this going on right now.
If anybody else would be charged in this, even though they've been called co-conspirators.
Yeah, and if you go to a country with no extradition, like Morocco, say, and there's no extradition to the United States, there is no time limit on that. If you get charged, if the charge stays open, there's a very famous case out of Las Vegas that was an interesting one, where a young lady drove off in a Brinks truck with, I think, $10 million. And she ended up somewhere in Europe with a fake passport for 10 years. And I think they negotiated her return to the United States. But they charged her, way before she left. And those charges stay open. It's not like they close the case because they can't get you back. So there is no real time limit on that. They'll wait it out as long as it takes.
Maybe suggesting that there are charges on KK, but they're not on sealed yet.
Maurice knows, I know. I've had cases that are 20 years old, Fed cases that are 20 years old. Guy disappears to wherever. And sooner or later, for some reason, that individual gets an itch to travel to France or travel someplace else. And then they get caught at the border and they get sent back. And of course, they attempt to try the case. And sometimes they're successful. So right now, we don't know of anybody else that's being charged. That may change depending on what happens with this verdict. Or it might not change. You just don't know until the government decides to go forward or not go forward. My guess is no one else is going to get charged in this case. I think that they've had enough of the Sean Combs saga.
I'm sure. Mauricio, here's a question for you. If I know you're a defense attorney, but I think this is an interesting question. It comes from Jan at Canham 8485.
So are they saying KK Christina Chrome is gone? Is she in hiding or something? Like that. Woo. Wait, hold on. Because a lot of people was putting her as the Ghislaine Gosling or whatever her name is, who was with Epstein. Like they was trying to create her as that person. Like, yeah, she was there, she's the one, she was plotting everything, she set up everything. But at this point, what we seeing, I don't know about all that. I really don't know. But man, let's listen more. Let's listen more to this, man. It's crazy right now, man.
Happen to the 70 civil lawsuits against him if he's convicted. I think there actually might be one of the.
I mean, everybody saw the video, and initially, although it seems like the defense is trying to desensitize the jury to it, I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. He's obviously beating her. I mean, the bottom line is he dragged her across the floor out of an alleged freak off. That's the allegation. I'm not sure that particular item is going to resonate with them. I think that there is other things that they've had testimony that they've had this toxic relationship, and it was a relationship, and he wasn't quote unquote pimping her. But that particular video, I think making that argument may not have been so great. I would have personally just argued it was a domestic dispute, and yes, the throwing in the phone, I think, was a good idea. I don't think the jury's going to buy that, though.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, when you see that video, and then obviously Cassie testified about this, but then you do have the text messages. So the jury is going to have a lot to talk about. I don't, the jury is always told to rely on their life experiences and their common sense. And I wonder how many jurors can really have that life experience of being in this swanky hotel and being chased or chasing somebody down a hallway and throwing them to the ground like that. Not many, I don't think. So it's a lot.
All right, so we're waiting to see when they're going to break for lunch. They've taken 2 breaks already, though, I'll say. All right, good. All right, so this is after Diddy apologizes for the beatdown. Ignifilo says, Cassie told you sometimes she'd hit him first. They're in this together, okay? She says there was an R word. It didn't happen. It's not even charged. She said he raped me. But there wasn't a lot of lead up. Maybe it didn't even happen. Cassie wrote to Combs. Combs is with her current husband. No, Cassie's with her current husband. Something happened. She wrote, I told myself I didn't want anything to happen. I'm not tripping on it. I know you aren't either. She gets a FaceTime. Boogie Bat phone is her husband. Wait, what? Cassie writes this to Combs. Something happened. She wrote, I told myself I didn't want anything to happen. I'm not tripping on it. I know you aren't either. What is that? I don't know. I'm not too sure what that's intended to mean. By the way, I don't think Inner City Press is typing this stuff. I think he must have some text to speech shit, bro. Yeah, I think they're going long for I think they're splitting up the closing arguments by doing half in the morning, then have a lunch break, half in the afternoon. But remember, we still got to do a rebuttal. It's almost 1 o'clock. They haven't taken a break yet, and I still think that he has a lot more to say. He has a lot more to say. You got to address Jane. He has a lot more to say. Who is this?
He said, I know. I don't care what you said, because that's gangster.
You are enjoying it. Some people are. I'm about to give you back to Udo. Thank you so much for money. Take care. Is this Queen's Flip? He looks like me, but I'm not. Yeah.
Yo, Mama Flip is my mom's. Mama Combs is my grandmom's. What happened? What's going on?
This is madness going on down there in that courthouse chat. Remember, I told you I was supposed to go. I'm like, I am good. I am good. Okay. Let's see how much more tweets we get. Combs wrote, "You act like a broken-hearted angel. You need to stop living your life." Cassie says, "I don't know who that was. I was saying thank you for last night and I enjoyed it. The oldest trick. I don't know how Alex found out. But she says, wait. Oh, is she saying that Cassie is starting to fuck with like her husband? And her new excuse of why she still fucked Diddy after she was fucking with her husband is that Diddy raped her. Really? This is confusing. Combs wrote, you act like a broken-hearted angel. You need to stop living your lie. Cassie says, I don't know who that was. I was saying thank you for last night and I enjoyed it. The oldest trick. I don't know how Alex found out, but she says rape. What? That's interesting. We're also waiting for some more exhibits. I think at some point we're going to get some more exhibits here. Matter of fact, let me check. I'm going to check the file. Remember that folder that I told you I have access to?
Yo, let's check something else, man. Let me see what's going on. Hold on, let's check law and crime right now.
Where Mark Agnifilo is going with that.
Okay, let's see what they talking about.
We have people inside the courtroom. Elizabeth Milner is inside the courtroom in the lower district or the Southern District of Manhattan, and Sierra Gillespie is outside the courtroom. So we're going to check in with Sierra Gillespie to see what's going on down there. So Sierra, tell me, if you would, what's the very latest? What's going on outside the federal courthouse?
Yeah, and Jeanette, we've seen a stagnant amount of people, I would say, here. I've talked a lot about how we have news media like myself doing live shots and, ordinary people doing live streams. And then we've had the subject of Britney Spears all day, which was not on my bingo card to cover, but that's still what's going on outside of the courthouse here. It looks like there's something going on for Diddy, but with closer examination, they're still asking for justice for Britney Spears and justice for survivors, which I guess in a way is relevant to what we're talking about, and that there are alleged survivors or victims in all of this, such as Cassie or Jane. So maybe that's kind of why they're tying things in. But other than that, not too much going on as of right now. Still closings inside.
Cassie Ventura has been, she was like the star witness or one of the star witnesses in this trial, Sierra. And Mark Agnifilo at this point in time is really focusing in on her and what he believes are inconsistencies in her testimony. And she was, 9 months pregnant, 8.5 months pregnant, up there on the witness stand, talking about all of these very difficult things that she said she went through with the freak-offs, the beatings, the physical abuse, the domestic violence. She claims she was raped. So he's really hammering away at her, hoping to discredit her and prove to this jury that she was not a victim of sex trafficking.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Anjanette. Cassie is a star witness in all of this, and her testimony, and the first word that came to my mind, honestly, was harrowing. Some of the things that she had to go through and describe. But of course, right now during closing arguments is when Agnifilo is going through and poking holes in all of this and alleging that, no, it wasn't this sex trafficking thing. She wasn't raped. She wasn't held against her will. It was a consensual relationship. And I do feel like all roads lead back to Cassie, because not only do we have her testimony on the stand that's debatably the most important testimony that jurors heard in all of this. But she's really the first one to kind of get the ball rolling, to open the floodgates, as we say so many times, because she filed that first civil lawsuit. And so I think that jurors are really going to go back to Cassie, if I'm just inferring as far as deliberations. They're going to go back, of course, and touch on Jane and Mia, who were lengthy witnesses on the stand, but Cassie, because first of all, they probably know who Cassie is. She's famous. She has the song Me and You, but that's another thing that was alleged by the government, that P. Diddy stifled her career. I believe it was a 10-album record deal that she signed, and of course she only had that one. And so I think they're really going to go back to all of that, and of course the freak-off videos that were shown in court, and maybe even back into their memory bank about some audio, which is something that we've showed here on Law and Crime, or heard rather, because it's simply audio, and we're about to play it for you now too. We have it, our producer Jordan has it queued up for us, and basically in this, and we want to play it for you, it is Cassie talking to one of her friends who apparently saw a freak-off video of her. So it's a recording of her, and I believe it's Sujin that she's talking to, and she's saying, tell me about this video. Where is the video? It's like a 24-minute long clip. Of course, we have it shortened down, but she does threaten him. So take a listen.
No, you playing games. No, and now we're not. Now all my friends can go, and we can stay here. Everybody can go, and we're gonna stay here. Everybody heard. So they're all leaving, and we're staying here until you show me that. I'm going to kill you. You don't understand. I don't give. I've never killed anybody in my life, but I will kill you because you're with me. With me in my life right now. If I saw a video of you doing anything that you didn't want people to see, I would show you the video so you could tell me what the happened. You're playing games with me, telling me you saw. Now you're saying you didn't see some. You with me. I'm going to you up. I don't think you understand. And it's not going to be my hands, and it's not going to be blood on my hands. Someone else is going to do it. So you have to tell me right now, and I'm recording this whole FYI, tell me what the you're talking about. So you have it or you don't have it? Can you just be clear with me? Do you have it?
I saw it and I don't want to ever see it again.
I know you don't, but I want to see it.
Yeah, but I don't want to see it. Bro.
Yeah, you don't have to see it, but it's my life and I'll kill you.
Yeah, but
no, I will kill you if you don't show me right now. I will kill you and I will hide you and I will cut you up and put you in the dirt right now. Pull it up. If you have it, pull it up. Because if not, I'm going to kill you and then he's going to kill you again. So just do it. Pull that up right now.
And that's some pretty powerful audio there where she's saying, I will effing kill you. And you can hear that she's really upset. So I'm sure this is something that is going to be in the back of jurors' minds. And I mean, I have not been, or actually I have an update for you guys right now. Courtroom is in break. And I think I can tell you now because there are a bunch of cars. There's this huge Celsius car behind us right now. But behind that, there are these big Sprinter vans. So immediately I'm starting to think, okay, that's Diddy's family all coming out. There's a huge crowd over there. And then of course the courtroom's on break for lunch. So I do think, unfortunately, with this huge Celsius ad behind us, but behind that, Diddy's family is there, and we do have our other camera there getting video.
Okay, great. So we'll be going on a lunch break. We'll be checking in with Elizabeth Milner here very shortly to get, get a read on what the vibe is in the courtroom. I want to hear from her specifically about that. But let's go back to those clips. So Sierra, that's a side of Casa Ventura that we don't really hear very often. We don't really ever hear from her, honestly. But that is not the Cassie Ventura that Cassie Ventura presents to the world, as a recording artist. So we've got this recording. I'll cut you up. I'll kill you. All of this stuff. I think we can all understand if somebody's like saying they're going to put a sex tape of you out, you'd be very upset about it. But it does show the jury another side of Cassie Ventura. So what do you make of that clip?
I think you're right, Anjanette. It could go either way. I mean, we've all said things that maybe in the heat of the moment we don't necessarily mean, and most of us thankfully don't have to go testify and put our hand up no, when I said I was going to do that, I didn't actually mean it, when you're just in the heat of the moment. But to your point, she has these freak-off tapes that she had been threatened would be released. And so, of course, she's upset about all of this. And I think it could go either way. I think it could go in the way of the government's argument, like we heard from her mother, for instance, where P. Diddy was requesting $20,000, I believe it was, in order to keep these freak-off tapes secret. She didn't want them ever getting out. She didn't want that at all. But then you can hear the other side of things. Maybe they're thinking, you know, okay, actually, she was also in on all of this. She was on the other side of things. So I don't know. It could really go either way.
Yeah, and the demand for $20,000 from Regina Ventura and her husband, from Cassie's parents. I mean, that was around the whole Kid Cudi when he went to the house, you know, with Capricorn Clark around that time. So. And then he demanded the 20 grand through his assistant or whatever, and then the money was sent back days later to the Venturas. So that's what the government said was an act of extortion. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So it's a lot to consider. So we'll see what the jury's going to have to consider all of it and look at all of it. So we're going to let you go for now, Sierra. So thank you so much. We'll check in with you here in a little bit, and we're going to go back to the panel. So we'll check in with you later. Panel, let's bring you back in here and talk with you. We're going to talk with Elizabeth Milner since the court is on a break now. They're going to lunch, the jury and everybody else. Sean Combs's family will be leaving the court for lunch, I assume. And we'll see what's going on inside that courtroom when Elizabeth comes out. So Bradford, I want to get a read from you and everybody else. Let's talk a little bit about what Mark Agnifilo said right before the lunch break. There's no evidence of rape, he says. She had consensual sex with Sean Combs after. I have to defend this. It is in the case, but it is not charged. Cassie was asked, what kind of pain did Sean put you through? She spoke about his own personal pain, his shame. Agnifilo said, it's beautiful, she said. He felt pain, and most painful to me was carrying around his shame. Jane says almost the same thing. I felt my partner was trusting me in a very vulnerable moment. I wanted to go along if I can be my partner's escape. Jane says, I'm getting vulnerable with you in the hotel rooms. I don't want to see young Miami on a bigger yacht with you. That's not sex trafficking. If you get deep into this deep self, this is not sex trafficking. It's people in love being real. And then they go to lunch break until 1:45 Eastern time. So what do you make of this, Bradford? You know, they've said from the beginning, this is all about jealousy and love and revenge and all of these other things.
I think that's the argument that has to be made. I think that Mark, you know, when it comes to rape allegations, it is such a tough thing to address when you feel like the individual who is making those allegations is not telling the truth or is exaggerating what happened or something else happened. It's difficult because it's a tough situation, right? It is a very serious crime. It's one that is a disgusting crime in terms of people's impressions of that crime. So it's extremely difficult for a defense attorney to address those things by calling the witness a liar. At the same time, you're under that duty to your client, and the way you broach it is very important. I think the way that he broached it was appropriate. He is addressing it with other items, other texts, other things that would suggest that it did not happen or that it was exaggerated from. Now, this is not something that's unusual. We've been hearing this from the very beginning. And just so it's clear, like, I have been approached by individuals that Cassie hired to represent them. I can't discuss the details of what they told me. One of them has a book that's out on, I think, Amazon. So the details of that interaction are out there, and the government didn't use him. The government talked to him. The government found out what he knew. He was supposed to be on the witness list, but he never testified. And the reason why I think he never testified is because the information he was giving hurt their case. It didn't necessarily help the defense 100%. Certainly hurt the theory of the prosecution that Cassie was this innocent kind of person that was involved in this thing. She had no real, meaningful relationships with these individuals, which just is not.
So what are they saying? So what they saying? What Cassie wasn't as innocent, whatever it is that they saying, but we still have that tape. I think that tape, man. It just that's the only thing. Whether Cassie was in, was I don't think Cassie's lying. And then on top of that, Cassie has every reason to say nah, it didn't happen because at that time she was with the trainer guy, the person she's with now. So anything that now come up, but of course she's gonna deny. She have to deny it, because man, I don't know nothing. I don't know. I got raped. You know what I'm saying? And it's gotta be very cautious because if she say on the other side, on the flip side of things, because I don't know what happened, what if it did happen or didn't happen. Now, if she goes on and say, well, because now it's like if she say yes, she got raped. Okay, cool. Now she's in good term with her, with her husband now or whatever, and they just look like okay, something bad happened to her. At the same time, if she say yeah, I got raped and it did happen, then it's like, oh, she's telling the truth. A crime was committed. So it's very tricky, man. I look at it as very tricky, and we don't know who to trust. But at the same time, we know. And the thing, we go back to the tape, is like, oh, look at what happened to the tape. And Diddy he said he didn't do it. He said he didn't do anything. Then when the tape came out, he apologized. So it's tricky, man. It's tricky, but at the same time, a lot of the things is like just that one thing he lied about now is coming back to haunt him. You know what I mean? Because he did deny that he ever did anything. These all was wrong. Truth would tell. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting back looking at it to see, man. Okay, what is gonna happen next on this situation? Let's continue listening, man. Let's continue listening to what's going on.
True, and she was calling and texting allegedly these individuals even when Diddy wasn't around. These texts were coming out. These individuals were on the list for witnesses for the government. The government chose not to use them, and I think very smartly chose not to use them, because it showed her involvement was a lot deeper than just a participant. There was showed that, she arranged things and talked to people and told them what she likes and all these other allegations that I think would come to light that would help the defense. But then there was also other things that would hurt the defense that these individuals would speak about. This is a very difficult case for both sides. It's not a slam dunk, certainly for the government, which you find to be very unusual because they have a 99% conviction rate. And you would think that most of these cases are slam dunks. This is not anywhere near a slam dunk for all the charges. So it'll be interesting how Mark finishes up, but I think he's addressing it the only way you can address it. You have to have some compassion for the individual. At the same time, you have to express that this individual is not being truthful with you. There is more to the story here. These individuals that are saying, hey, I didn't want to do that, but by the way, here's a text that says, why are you buying Young Miami a purse? And I only got, a LV purse, and she's getting an Hermes purse. That doesn't feel right to me. I want an Hermes purse too. That doesn't sound like someone who's been sex trafficked.
It's complex and different for sure. It really is. It is. There is one thing I want to touch on. We have a lot to unpack, guys. Agnifilo said, Bradford, he thinks he's got an hour left. So we come back from lunch at 1:45. He's got an hour left. And then the judge said, Ms. Comey, so I'll charge at 4 or even 5. Because the feds get to do a rebuttal. If they charge the jury at 4 or 5, it's my understanding Combs has to be back at the MDC for head count at a certain time. Like he can't just be hanging out at the courthouse all night for deliberations. So I'm not sure if he charges a jury at 4 or 5 tonight, they're not going to probably start deliberations, I would assume, until Monday, right?
Individuals who were charged, the juries that were charged, 4 or 5 o'clock, and the judge kept the jury till 10. I had a case in Tampa that I won, by the way. But they kept the jury there till 10 o'clock at night because the jury was saying, oh, we can keep going, we can keep going. They came back the next day and we had a verdict before lunch. The key here is what the jury wants to do. No, Sean Combs is not going to hang out at the courthouse during the deliberations. But if there's any part of that the defendant needs to be back and present for, they will go get the defendant and bring them back and into the courtroom to be present for that. My guess is because of the logistics, because of the craziness, because of where he's being held, and if he's going to be held downstairs at the federal courthouse or if he's going to be transported back, all these different kind of things, my guess is that the judge would say, hey, let's come back on Monday and start fresh Monday morning. But not every federal judge does that. I've had state judges, federal judges. I've gone till 10, 11. It's one of those things that it's up to the federal judge. This judge seems like the kind of judge that would dismiss the jury for the weekend and come back on Monday. But, I've been wrong, at least 1% of the time. So who knows how this is going to go.
That's quite the batting average, Bradford.
I do okay. I'm like the Feds. I'm like the Feds, except I'm on the other side.
So let's give you guys a little bit of an update because we have a lot to talk about. So the Combs family has exited the courthouse. Somebody has fallen outside the courthouse. We're trying to figure out who fell. So please don't take that and run with it. Somebody fell. We don't know who. As soon as we find out, we'll let you know who fell. But I don't know. There's been so much talk throughout this trial about him having to be back at the MDC by a certain hour for the head count, and the U.S. Marshals being stretched thin already. I don't know if I see them carting him back to the MDC and then bringing him back. Like, let's say there was a verdict tonight, or I just don't know if I see it happening. So they could be back on Monday. We'll get back to you when we know more information about that. Mauricio, I want to go now to you about the recording of Cassie. Of course, we can all understand being really upset if a recording of us, or we heard like we had a sex tape or whatever, and it's going to get out, and we're famous, and oh my God, it's going to ruin my career and whatnot. We'd all be really upset. But she's saying, I am going to cut you. I am going to bury you. You are going to be dead. I mean, can you even imagine? This is like a totally different side of Cassie Ventura. So how do you think that tape plays? Because I'm not hearing, I'm hearing somebody who sounds like they are, yes, she might just be making threats because she's like, do not do this or I will kill you. But this sounds like I'm going to cut you. I'm literally going to cut you up and bury you. Sounds very, very, very harsh and wild. It's very, I don't know how else to phrase it.
I mean, worse than that is when she says, it's not going to be me, it's going to be somebody else. So she's already letting him know that, I'm going to contract out this murder. The thing is that when I hear it, I don't know. She doesn't strike fear in me. It sounds like someone that is extremely upset, a woman that's extremely upset because she was recorded without her consent. So it kind of hurts the defense as well because, if you hear it, yes, and they need to use it because they need to chip away at Cassie with whatever they can. And the fact that she's making these homicidal threats is something that you definitely want to use to your advantage. But at the end of the day, you're hearing someone that's extremely upset because she's learning for the first time that these freak-offs that she thought were not videotaped were videotaped. So it kind of goes with the theme of the government that he used these freak-offs and he recorded it for his own benefit to be able to extort women later on, and specifically Cassie to continue to do these freak-offs for his own perverted benefit. And listen, at the end of the day, you have the typical sex trafficking, like people can envision a van and teenage girls being walked to like a seedy motel. But at the end of the day, the law is the law. And if you're flying escorts from state to state and paying them money to perform sexual acts, and you are not a licensed pornography company, you're breaking the law. So and whether or not, you know, there was force, fraud, coercion, even if it was I videotaped you, or I'm saying I'm not gonna pay your $10,000 a month rent, or I'm not gonna, you know, satisfy my commitment to make 10 albums and I'm only gonna give you one. It's coercion. So that's, I think, the challenge for the government, to explain to a jury that this doesn't have to be the seedy motel with the teenage girls to actually be a crime. And at the end of the day, RICO is a law that they could literally almost get anybody with. It's a bad law. You know, if they say that you did two things, boom, RICO. Now, they don't use it on everybody, you know, but they decided to use it against P. Diddy. And I agree with Bradford, when this is a state case on steroids. This is not a federal case. And that's why juries, federal juries, and audiences that are watching this are not used to it, because the federal government doesn't go out on a limb and do this, but they've done it now. And now they're stuck with it, and they're trying to convince a jury of it, and that's going to be the greatest difficulty. And I think Mark is doing a good job, you know, with what he has. At the end of the day, you know, as lawyers, we're stuck with the facts of the case, and he's stuck with a defendant that is not liked. P. Diddy is not beloved. Biggie was beloved. P. Diddy is not beloved. People don't really love him. That's why you don't see people outside supporting him. Not only the fact that he's done, you know, bad things to women. You know, there's allegations of him urinating on women and doing a bunch of stuff that I don't want to get into. But in addition to not being beloved, the allegations in this case are not the type that people are going to support him. So, you know, the government has to deal with the situation that they put themselves in by deciding to charge this crime.
You know, Alexis, I know a lot of defense attorneys do not like the RICO statute, the racketeering statute, and they don't like the way it's been used and applied here. You said earlier you see the RICO, so you see it here. Do you think that the defense is making some good points, though, in their argument as they try to, from what we're hearing? I mean, I know it's hard without a transcript and a live feed, but they're saying basically, these women are not sex trafficking victims. They're people who had access to grind. They're jealous. You know, they're upset about Young Miami getting, you know, more attention, and she doesn't have to do all these freak offs, things of that nature.
Well, first, I agree with everything Mauricio said. I mean, the RICO statute was basically made to go after the mob and make it easy for the government. So they have if you've been charged with RICO, on top of the fact that it's a federal case and their conviction rate of 99% goes up even more. So, but that being said, I think that the defense is doing, like was said before, the best they could do. They are trying to convince the jury that, first of all, there's no RICO. All this is that we have a domestic dispute, and yeah, he's a horrible boyfriend, and he's playing women, and he treated them horribly. However, it is just a domestic relationship, and that does not rise to RICO. And I think that's the only real defense that they have. And don't forget, you know, the defense attorneys are very good attorneys. And Mark, I think if everybody remembers, actually ended up getting Michael Jackson acquitted. So, you know, he knows that you have to go after and attack the evidence, meaning the witnesses that have come on and said, no, you know, you were a jealous person, that you also had a temper, that you were part of this, and then we had a horribly toxic relationship, but this wasn't RICO, I wasn't trafficking you, I wasn't drugging you, that you knew what you were doing, you were a shrewd person as well, that I didn't groom you into doing this. Because then one of the things that the prosecution needs to, you know, really hammer in is that groomers tend to talk very nicely to the people that they're grooming. They tend to create that relationship where the victims a lot of times do have feelings and fall in love with the person that's grooming them. So that's not unusual. But I think that their defense is doing really well on closing, from what we've heard, that really hammering it in. This was a toxic relationship between consenting adults.
Bradford, I have a viewer question for you. This is from I am Sydney Sexton. I think this is a good one for you because you handle, you know, big name celebrities. You know, you have them as clients. If Diddy is convicted, do you think this opens the door for other celebs to be convicted? A lot of artists / athletes have paid women for trips. I find this to be an interesting question because there's been some scuttlebutt that the feds are kind of using this as a test case, and it could open the floodgates for them to go after other celebrities if they get a conviction here.
I think it's a dumpster fire. I think this case is a case that they attach themselves to, and they don't really. I don't think they anticipated the type of testimony that they were going to get from certain individuals when they were interviewing certain individuals. I don't see this being a test case to start charging every celebrity under the sun. I think this was an unusual case where the press picked it up. It was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was a violent act on video, caught on video. There were so many things that were attached to this that made it a attractive case for the feds to pick up. I don't see that being replicated. Again, anything can happen. Another video could come out suddenly and it could replicate itself. I just don't see it happening where someone all of a sudden sues, Bob Smith for something, and the feds are like, oh, we need to pick this up. This was a very, very unusual case. The individual was unusual, high profile, billionaire, had these parties. Everyone was at these parties, videotaping sexual events, videotaping other events that were not savory. And then the video of Cassie getting assaulted. All of those things, I think, created a perfect storm. Of course, the SDNY that loves high-profile cases so they can put on their wares, their talents, do a pony show. SDNY is always available for that. And that's what I think happened in this case. Do I think other jurisdictions would ever pick up something like this? No. I think this was specific for the jurisdiction. I think it was specific for the defendant. I think it was specific for these facts. I don't see it happening. Again, anything could happen. But there's been many, many, many lawsuits filed against many, many individuals, and this never happened. You got football players that got, multiple massage parlors, all these different things, and the feds never touch those cases because they're not attractive cases to them. In this case, he has money that they can seize. He's got homes that he can seize. He's got boats that they can seize. They'll say, oh, all these acts happened on a boat, or these acts happened in this house, or these acts happened on a plane. All of these things equal a federal case. There's nothing sexier to the feds than, number one, videotape of bad acts, and then number two, assets they can seize, money they can seize. That's kind of the jewel in the crown at the end of the rainbow if they do to get a conviction.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here if Cassie hadn't filed that lawsuit. We all know that. That's what started it all. We have now Elizabeth Milner outside of the federal courthouse. We are going to check in with her. She has been inside court the whole time throughout this trial and all morning long. So good afternoon, Elizabeth. Can you tell me what is going on, or what has been going on, I should say, outside or inside court this morning? What have the jurors been doing? What's the reaction been?
Yeah, well, obviously today's a big day. It's the defense's closing argument. And I will say this, Anjanette. First of all, a lot's kind of going on. I got stuck in an elevator. I don't have my phone. So, Mom, I apologize if you're trying to text me right now. I don't have my phone with me. It's still locked up inside. But as far as just the tone of the closing arguments, it's a little bit different than how it was yesterday. And I'm going to just speak kind of frankly here, where Mark Agnifilo is super animated. And this is something that I kind of wanted from the prosecution in terms of just personalizing it for the jury, in terms of starting the closings off and thanking them for their time, thanking them for paying attention to everything. And then, of course, as I'm talking to you right now, Anjanette, I'm moving with my hands, I'm talking with my hands. It's something I normally do, and that's kind of the way and the tone that Mark Agnifilo is doing the closing arguments in the same fashion. He even isn't standing kind of right at the podium when he's giving his closing argument. He's really kind of going back and forth and back and forth. He's showing demonstratives, he's showing posters, he's showing text messages in the forms of paper, but obviously the jury is able to see it on their their jury screens. But in terms of just the tone, from what I could see at the start of closing arguments today, was that the jury was paying close attention. I think when you personalize a summation for the jury, where you speak to them directly, you thank them for their time, you thank them for their civic service, that I think it really kind of resonates with them. So all eyes obviously were on Mark Agnifilo today. Now, there were points during Mark Agnifilo's summation that I think maybe he might have been losing the jury in terms of just how long it was going. But again, like I had said yesterday, you know, if people can binge watch television shows for hours on end, I don't think a 4-hour closing argument is really just, you know, the longest thing ever. But I think maybe as we were getting kind of towards the lunch break, I think a lot of people might have been a little hungry. So, you know, I maybe saw people not paying or I shouldn't say they weren't paying attention. They were definitely paying attention. I did see some peeks and glances over at the clock a couple of times, but it's possible that it was just the lunchtime. People wanted to eat, and so they wanted to know how soon they'll be able to eat, and then probably will be paying close attention once we come back from the lunch break.
So the jurors, you said, were looking at the clock, but it could have been the lunch break, but maybe boredom, or just not sure, or...
I think it was more towards the lunch hour, that especially as we were kind of slowly inching past like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So still there were digesting hours and hours of summations already. So I think it was kind of towards the lunch time frame that they were kind of looking and glazing at the clock here and there, just probably wondering, when is lunch going to start? Something that maybe a lot of us had that question too.
Yeah, lunch is a good thing. Everybody needs lunch. Jurors, the court, everybody. So tell me, Elizabeth, you know, there was Judge Submarinian. He said he was going to give a curative instruction to the jury. Maureen Comey asked for that. And she said it was because Mark Agnifilo made some improper comments. So talk to me a little bit about that. And what was it? Was there tension in the courtroom when this was going on?
It didn't seem like there was necessarily tension in the courtroom when this was going on, because mind you, Anjanette, the jury wasn't present when Maureen Comey stood up and told this to the judge. And let me just, for those who are unfamiliar with kind of what happened, this came after kind of a morning break. Maureen Comey mentioned that she didn't want to be interrupting Mark Agnifilo's summation, so she waited until the jury was dismissed for a morning break to kind of bring up these issues. And so the government was pretty much upset that Mark Agnifilo was telling the jury that they should consider the reason why the government brought charges against Sean Combs. They were saying that it's not the jury's job to be speculating on why the government is bringing about these charges against the defendant, and obviously the defendant being Sean Combs. The government said that Mark Agnifilo told the jury that the Intercontinental Hotel incident, that being the domestic violence aspect that the jury has seen kind of playing out in that surveillance video, they claim getting everyone mixed up. The defense was saying that was a misdemeanor charge, and then the government said that that's mischaracterizing everything. There's a lot of ambulances going on, so I'm hoping that everyone can kind of still hear me. It seems like there was a little commotion going on when I was exiting court today, but I just wanted to make sure the sirens weren't too distracting. But even in terms of just what Mark Agnifilo was saying to the jurors in respects to arson and kidnapping, I think the government wanted to make clear that Sean Combs isn't charged with arson and kidnapping, that instead it falls under the Predicate Act under RICO, which a lot of people seem to be kind of confused about in general, even outside of the courtroom, where I think people think Diddy is charged with kidnapping and arson and forced labor, all of that stuff. But again, that is a Predicate Act that's laid out under the RICO charge. And of course, count one is racketeering conspiracy, aka RICO. And so Agnifilo kind of was, I think, a little disappointed by the government saying this, and then the judge kind of taking into consideration giving the jury this particular instruction, mainly because he says that he thinks that he's allowed to be sarcastic. He says that his commentary while he's giving his summations is pretty fair, because if you think about it in contrast to the prosecution's closing argument, they for the most part were just kind of very monotone, methodical, really just kind of, you know, it was the presentation here. They were kind of, you know, standing at the podium, reading off the notes. And again, this was Christy Slavic giving the closings for the government, whereas Mark Agnifilo, he has a different style. He was saying that his commentary was pretty much fair. And so after the morning break, the judge told Mark Agnifilo to not do it again, pretty much. He said that he called it improper and said that the jury shouldn't speculate why the charges were brought. And then Alexandra Shapiro also kind of chimed in terms of these arguments when we were brought back from the morning break, where she said what was done wasn't improper. She said that the judge called out Mark Agnifilo, but the judge kind of chimed in. He was like, I didn't call anybody out. AUSA Maureen Comey brought this to my attention, and so I'm just kind of trying to do what I need to do. But he read back the transcript to Mark Agnifilo too, where he said, you know, look, you cannot be saying this. You cannot be having the jury kind of speculate on these types of things. And so Shapiro kind of, you know, she clapped back a little bit where she said Christy Slavic said that there were guns at freak-offs and implied that the government got the law wrong when it comes to drug distribution and all of that stuff. But in the end of the day, the judge ended up giving those special instructions once the jury was brought back after the morning break.
And just so the viewers know, and kudos to you, Elizabeth, for making it through the sirens. I've been there. It's tough. It's tough. The government, you know, wanted to get rid of the attempted arson, attempted kidnapping, you know, just to streamline things. That's what they said they did. So I think there was just so much confusion about all of that when that letter came out. So let's just really quickly, and then we'll check in with Sierra. I wanted to ask you, what's Sean Combs doing during all of this, as his attorney is kind of making his final pitch to the jury?
Yeah, because everyone, these closing arguments are a big deal. It is the final message that both sides will be able to deliver to the jury before they get the jury instructions, before they eventually go back to that room and deliberate. And so from what I could see of Sean Combs, because Anjanette, it was a packed courtroom in there, just kind of like it was yesterday, and it was the same kind of thing today. A lot of eyes are on kind of both sides to see what do they have to say in their final message to the jury. So from what I could see of Sean Combs, he really had all eyes focused on Mark Agnifilo. I think, you know, and that was the same for everybody who was sitting at the defense tables, is that they had all their eyes on Mark Agnifilo as he's giving these final summations. It wasn't like when the government was doing their closing argument yesterday, where you could see Sean Combs passing off notes to his attorneys. From what I could see of him today, he wasn't really jotting much down, if he was even jotting anything down. He really was just focused on what his defense attorney, and high-profile defense attorney at that, really had to say in his final message to the jury. So all eyes definitely on Mark Agnifilo today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we will let you get back into court. Elizabeth, thank you so much, and go find that phone. Hopefully it's still where you left it. We need to now check in with Sierra Gillespie. So Sierra, we will see what she has going on outside of the courthouse. Sierra, did you find out who fell outside of the courthouse?
Yes, Anjanette. So it was kind of a lot happening at once. Actually, sorry, I'm getting feedback, so I'm just going to pull this out real quick so I don't hear myself and only you guys hear me. So here's what happened. It's the lunch hour. Everybody is coming out of these doors behind me. So it's kind of a rush. I mean, you have people like Elizabeth, you have P. Diddy's families. I was talking about those Sprinter vans that were right over here coming to pick up his families. And then all of a sudden this person had what appears to be some sort of medical incident. Now, I don't exactly know the identity of this person, but he seems to have, and I mean, I can't confirm this, I'm not a doctor, but what appears to be a seizure. I mean, looking like he is, you know, seizing on the ground. So that's what happened. Meanwhile, there are all of these barracks here, I guess you could say, if we can just pan over here on our camera and show. We have all of these right here kind of to keep people back. So when this man came out and he's having this medical episode, everyone rushes over to try to help him. But the police officers, who's their job to make sure that everything is, you know, safe and okay, they kind of push the people back. Meanwhile, P. Diddy's family is coming out at the same time. So they start looking and they're like, wait, what's going on? And there are still over here, we can pan over here too and look, there are still a couple of ambulances that were here to help this man, just to make sure that he was okay. So we did watch just a few minutes ago, he was loaded onto a stretcher. So hopefully he's going to be okay. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the trial. However, P. Diddy's family was here and they did witness it as they were getting into their vans.
So Sierra, I think I saw you put your piece back in. Hopefully you're still not getting that feedback, but hopefully that gentleman is okay. Anything else happening outside of court? You know, we were talking earlier with the panel about how, you know, some people love Sean Combs, other people do not. So I know we haven't seen the big crowds of people gathering in anticipation of the verdict, but anything else that you're seeing that you think we should know about?
Yeah, we haven't seen the crowds as of yet, but I think we're both kind of guessing that in the future we will. We did have just minutes ago, it was really busy over here, and I know we have the footage. I can't see what was played on the live stream, but I'm pretty confident we have a great team back in the control room that was playing all the stuff we had. So we had a bit of a crowd, but again, nobody chanting, you know, free Puffy, nobody chanting justice for Cassie and Jane, nothing like that as of yet, but there's still time, as I've been saying.
Yeah, still time for that, for sure. So Sierra, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We are going to take a quick break, and after this break, Sierra will be taking over. I'm going to be signing off. I thank you to the panel. They will be sticking around and hanging out with Sierra. Thank you to Bradford. Thank you to Alexis and Mauricio. Stay with us. This will just be a short break. I'm Anjanette Levy. You are watching Law and Crime on YouTube. Keep those great questions coming. Drop them in the chat. We'll see you back here in just a minute.
Man, what's gonna happen, man? What is going to happen, man? We hoping to see, you know, justice serves. It's kind of like, it's crazy because, as you guys can hear, it's like it's saying there's nobody out there screaming for Cassie and Jane Doe. At the same time, there's nobody out there screaming free Diddy neither. You know, so it's leading me to believe that the people might be feeling like, this it's a whole mess. You know what I mean? It's a whole mess. It got, yeah, Diddy did wrong, but at the same time, I think it's almost like they looking at the Cassie as well, like, you as not as innocent as we, you know, like we all thought. You know, definitely you know, definitely the video shows a much graphic. You know, Diddy was definitely doing something crazy to her. At the same time, it almost seems like it was just more toxic than anything. It was extremely toxic. It was these people just kept doing living the life, that life that most of us would be like, yo, what the heck is this? Like, man, I'm not sharing my wife or my girlfriend. Like, I'm not doing that. But they was doing it, and the females involved was actually allowing it to happen too. Money was being exchanged, and I don't know. Well, you know, we'll see, man. Right now, this is the trial, so we'll see if who's correct, who's not. But it just show you, like, this is not just a thing where it's like, oh, it's a slam dunk for the prosecution. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of doubt involved in this too. At the same time, it's a lot of crimes that was involved. So it's like, at the same time, we have to see what the jury think. Ultimately, that's what it's about. It's not even about me. It's not about you. It's really not about nobody except the juries who's listening, who's looking at everything and saying to themselves, like, okay. And then they probably get together and talk about it and come up to with a conclusion, guilty or not guilty, or guilty on some charges or guilty on no charges. And this ultimately, that's what that's what it's all boiled down to. So we have to see that what's going on with that, man. But let me move to a different site to see what's really going on, to see how this thing is really happening and things like that. We'll check. Let's see what's going on with the academy with
dropping merch.
DJ Academy.
This was like.
Oh, DJ Academy.
Like,
you talking about Fitz? I ain't trying to hate nobody no Fitz, man. We talking about the Diddy argument.
She on his jet.
Okay. Let's go.
And she wanted Cassie's but Puffy didn't look at her that way. Let's talk about the kidnapping joint. He framed this perfectly. He said Capricorn Clark testified she was kidnapped during the lie detector joint. She went 5 days to have the lie detector, but she went home every night. He said, how the hell could you be kidnapped and you go home every night? Then he pointed to the jury. He said, look, he said, all y'all come here, you've been coming here every day for 2 months. Are you kidnapped? Are you get to go home every night, right? He says, there's no kidnap. And he just killed it, man. He killed it, man. I don't know, we keep putting these clown faces on. You know, Puffy's chances of getting acquitted went up exponentially today. If I'm on the jury, not guilty. I don't know if I could go not guilty, but I can't go guilty. I can't. There's nothing I could go, you know. And then he showed the tape where Puffy assaulted her at the elevator. And he slowed it down to show that when Puffy came around the corner in the towel, right, and threw it down, he had nothing in his hands. But what's up, man? What's going on? But after he threw her down and he's walking away, he's got a phone in his hand. So that that Cassie took his phone and was gonna go through his phone and start, you know, he talked about all Puffy's women. And then he brought up the point, and I thought this was good. How do we know? Because yesterday the prosecutor said that, oh, he threw her down and he was dragging her back to a freak off that she didn't want to go to. But he said, how do we even know there was another dude in the room? Because there's no evidence that there was another man in the room. They said Jules. How do we know he was even in the room? He broke it down, man. He broke it down. You know, I can't see, to me, there's nothing that the assistant U.S. attorney, whoever's going to do the rebuttal, because the government gets to do a rebuttal to what Mark Agnifilo just did. What's up, Sid? Appreciate you, man. Thank you, man. I can't see nothing. Hey, Sid, you was in there, right? Yeah. Come here. I can't see anything that y'all saw Sydney on my channel. I can't see anything that shout out to Alexander Shapiro, man. Mo, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate your hard work, bro. Appreciate you too, Mo. Thank you, man. All right, Sydney, you go? All right, cool. All right, all Puffy's families in there. Go get Christian, Puffy's son Christian's. His album came out today. Him and Kanye West did an album. Go get that. What? All right, I'm good. Just, yeah, I think it's a done deal, man. You know, what are you gonna do? You got 9 men on the jury. 9 men, and you know, Mark Agnifilo, not minimizing the women. Like I told y'all, my mother, I watched my mother be a victim of domestic violence in the worst way in the 70s, when domestic violence was really domestic violence. So I don't minimize or condone domestic violence. And Mark talked about that too. It's eight he brought up a Cassie Instagram post where Cassie posted on her Instagram that this is a domestic violence case. And he went on that. He said she didn't say this was a RICO case. She didn't say this was a kidnapping case. She didn't say this was a trafficking case. She didn't even say she was trafficked. She said on her own Instagram, this was a domestic violence case. And that's exactly what it turned out to be, man. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. I'm not going back. It's over. It's over.
It ain't over yet, Uncle.
Mark Agnifilo was all over the courtroom. Hand movements, moving over here, coming over here, talking over here to the jury, pointing to the family, walking in between Puffy and them sitting in the back. Alexander Shapiro, normally it'd be
listen, I'm gonna say this, Unc. Sometimes the pride comes before the downfall. I think that's how the saying goes. I know you say you don't have to go back for that afternoon session, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I personally don't believe that this will be a full acquittal for Diddy. And if you're that confident, I'm glad you're that confident. But if it comes back and he blows trial, we're gonna be looking at you, Unc. Unc, you've been telling us he got us in the bag.
Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, Puffy, Brian Steele, Jason Driscoll, and then Alexander Shapiro in the back. But today, Tenny Garagos was sitting on against the wall, and Alexander Shapiro was sitting right next to Mark Agnifilo. And then in front of them is the federal prosecutors. He walking, see what you see, body language is everything, man. Body language is everything. You can't have your shoulders slump. And in tension situations, and I learned this when I was in prison, that you're always on stage and everybody's always looking at your body language, because your body language reflects your thoughts. And if you're thinking weak thoughts, your body will show that and you will get taken advantage of. So even when you scared, even times in prison when I was scared, I always never let my body language slump. Your shoulders can't slump. You can't look down. You gotta always be up no matter what. And you gotta still keep moving around the way you've always moved around, even before you got scared. And Mark Agnifilo, he's walking through all of the people behind the prosecutors. And when he does that, you let the opponent know that I'm bringing my energy. I want to dominate your energy. Any energy you trying to bring, I want to dominate it. He walking in between them. He back here. Oh man, it was crazy. It was crazy. He took over the courtroom. I couldn't write notes because I'm looking at him like, what the fuck is he gonna do next? You understand? And then while he's being so demonstrative and animated, he's spitting facts. He's shredded. Puffy's lawyers annihilated every witness that got on the stand. No matter what they said, Brian Steele, Nicole Westmoreland, Jonathan Bach, Xavier Donaldson, Jason Driscoll, Alexander Shapiro, Anna Estevello, Tenny Garagos, Mark Agnifilo, Brian Steele. They destroyed every single witness. Every time, not one got away. And they did it again today. He did it again today. He did it again today in the closing argument. It's over. It's over. Puffy.
Nah, Unc is something else, man. You know, we got to keep it fair and balanced. Again, I don't want to do the Tory Lanez mistake, because if I refuse to tell you that Diddy is going to be acquitted on all charges, because I felt it was slightly a failure by me in reporting the Tory Lanez trial as accurately as possible, that even if we feel the verdict was, wrong or incorrect, for us to not leave a opening of him getting found guilty on damn near every charge was us watching an alternate reality. So this is why I keep going. I like difference of opinions. Let me hear what Matthew Russell has to say. He usually doesn't give too much opinion, just tells it what it is. He does all the tweets for us.
Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here by the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Friday, June 27th. It's day 32 of the Sean Combs trial, and we're in the defense summation. About more than halfway through, and it's really been quite something. Mark Agnifilo, he's pretty much said that Mia was lying. He said that Capricorn Clark was lying. He's been kind of kid's gloves with Cassie, saying that they loved each other, but that she's lying as to being raped, that she actually was just trying to conceal it from her, what he called it, her current husband, Boogie Bat Phone, Alex. He's now going to turn to Jane after the break. They're going to resume at 1:45 today. There'll be no deliberations today, it appears, because Agnifilo says that as of 1:45, you'll have an hour at least to go. Then AUSA Comey will have a rebuttal more than an hour. And then there's a charge. We haven't seen it. It's not in the docket yet. But he's saying we might stay until after 5 o'clock. In any event, we're down to the wire because we're going to be publishing week 7 of Diddy on trial soon thereafter. It's been quite a week. This has been a full week. The week with Juneteenth was a little bit of a short week. But this week has been jam-packed. And Agnifilo, I don't know. We've been live tweeting it, so you can draw your own conclusions, whether it's beneath contempt. He was admonished by not beneath contempt. He's a defense lawyer. He's got to say something. And if you're not going to say that the witnesses are lying, I was actually surprised that some of the cross-examinations were not more aggressive. But the summation is aggressive. He's saying Capricorn Clark is a liar that was in love with Sean Combs, that she lied about kidnapping, that she lied about this, that, and the other thing. Mia lied that the sex was not consensual. She says it was consensual. She cites the birthday video. Oh, he does cite, as early in the trial, we noted that Derek Ferguson, a government witness that was the CFO of Combs Companies, that he actually might have helped the defense. And it seems that it was, because Agnifilo has said, look at what Ferguson said. He was a DEI before there was DEI. Hang on. We got some noise pollution, but that's not noise pollution, but it's an administrative area down here. Maybe we'll pause it, actually. Okay, we'll finish it up here as we stroll in Chinatown before the resumption of the trial. Week 7 book. Week 6 is up, week 7 is up, and by next week, Monday, they'll be deliberating, and the jury verdict may come before the 4th of July. But we'll be right on it. Inner City Press, we continue.
Okay. Quickly, they're still on break. We're still waiting. Give me 1 second. Let me try to figure out. We're trying to get a balanced kind of like overview of this first part of the closing. Lauren Conlin, let's see. We'll always go to Lauren. I'm gonna try to see if I can get something done with her. Oh, actually, she's not gonna be in town this weekend. Fuck. Let's go to Law and Crime.
So Hollywood, Sean Diddy Combs.
And, start their kid, just to be fair. And I could see this way, too, for judges. They don't want to...
Things that they were doing were against their will. That's what they have to do, is beat that drum and beat that death. What I don't see what they have to do is get folks, no pun intended, but,
Yeah, I want someone who's there, right? This is kind of like how we've been covering these cases. Let's see, attorney Simone. Let me see. I think this is her.
Her attorney.
No, this right here. Did she go live yet or no? Not yet. Okay.
Everybody has their own thing that they like or don't like, and that's really what they have to go with in terms of the sexual stuff, in terms of that. It's weird, but who are we to judge? Everyone's got their own thing. If it's not illegal, then this should be allowed. That's really kind of what they're going with, is like, yeah, it's weird. He's not a good guy. He's no angel, but neither are any of these other people, and this was all consensual.
Great final thoughts to end on. I mean, we still have rebuttal, jury instructions, and then, of course, deliberations. And we'll be here, you guys, live streaming it all to give you the updates. Our all-star panel, thank you so much, Alexis Rosenberg, Bradford Cohen, Mauricio Padilla, some of our all-time favorite guests. Thank you guys for coming on. And I want to remind you that we do have Jesse Weber coming up at 3 p.m. We will be here to talk more. I'll be here, Elizabeth.